Fourth time around, episode 7. Hi, it's Lisa.
And Joe.
What's going on?
I don't know, you tell me. There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. It's been podcast crazy.
This whole week has been insane. Oh, Lisa's taking the headphones off.
For the first time ever, I wore the headphones, and I could only keep them on for, 20 seconds?
Yeah. We have one set of headphones that goes into our little magic box that plugs into the computer.
I find it really trippy to hear myself being projected back into only one ear.
That's true.
I feel like I'm being really loud. See, now I'm talking at a normal volume. Before I was like, hello, this is Lisa. Because I felt like I was shouting.
I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm trying.
I need to work on my hottie voice.
Yes, I've been told that, hey, who's the hottie?
Which is such nonsense, especially coming from people who have met me.
Well,
No, it's...
perhaps you are a hottie, darling.
Perhaps I have a good radio face.
Got a great face for radio.
I have a great body for radio.
Hey, everybody. God. Well, it's been podcast mayhem, hasn't it?
It is. Our
darling?
podcast has taken off. Well, I don't know that our podcast has taken off. We've taken off in the podcasting community. We have some buddy podcasters now.
That's right. We got shout outs.
It's really great. We had 2 people from the local media ask us some questions about our podcast.
That's true.
It's like blogging in 2001.
Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, it's like the big hot thing. We got a call the other night from a producer at the PBS station here in Chicago. There's a program that they do. It's a news magazine program called Chicago Tonight. And they were doing a thing on podcasting, on the fact that you can do more with your iPod and your music player than just download music.
Right. The tie-in was a lot of people are going to get iPods for Christmas.
Right.
And here's something you could do. But they covered the good podcasts like Ebert and Roper.
Well, all the professionally produced ones.
Right.
They didn't go into what those of us in the podcast community would refer to as the real podcasts.
Right.
This is where the rubber hits the road, man. This is where the real thing happens.
This is the grassroots.
Exactly. And I apologize to your eardrums for the pounding I just did. But they did. I spent about 15 minutes on the phone with this lady who's a producer for the show. And I told her basically why we do it. Why do we do this?
Because it's fun.
Yeah.
Because we like to hear
Man,
ourselves.
that's an awful
We
lot of
like to
work.
talk and then hear ourselves played back.
Exactly.
Really,
So-
the same reason little kids make their own movies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because we
'Cause
can.
Exactly. And you know what we're going to do? The only tapes I have for me left now I have some of my broadcasting tapes from when I was in college and I was on the radio station.
Oh,
in
they're
college.
precious.
They
We're
are.
going to bust those out.
Yeah.
We need to play the Toys R Us bit.
The Toys R Us. Oh, we
It's
could.
very Christmas appropriate.
Actually, we should. We should dig that out and maybe I'll plug that in later.
Yes.
But we also have tapes of Lisa when she was in first grade
First grade.
reading, and it's classic stuff.
My parents had this idea that after I finished my first grade reading book, that I should read the whole thing on tape. Not my first storybook, but the reading book where you learn different reading concepts and then stories to apply the concepts. So when I finished that first book, must have been, but I was 6, not 5. It was 19 years ago.
Okay.
No, it wasn't close to
Such
Christmas,
a
really,
kid.
but it was fall of 85.
Yeah.
Let that sink in.
Like
What
to
were
know
you?
what I was
What were
doing
you doing in the fall
of 85? What was I doing in the
You
fall
were
of 85?
married.
I was married, and I'm trying to think of what I was doing. I had my Commodore computer, so I was geeking out then. I was working for a company in Schaumburg that sold computer supplies, which is no longer in business. I had a really cool mullet.
Oh,
I had some awesome clothes. I had some really cool skinny black pants, and I had a bunch of white shirts, and my favorite tie, which I wish I still had, it was just really cool. It was a skinny black and dark gray striped tie.
awesome.
Oh yeah.
The only thing I know about 85 is that's when Back to the Future came out.
Would you like to hear my Dr. Brown impersonation?
Let's not.
Doc, you gotta help me. Was it 1.21?
1.21 gigawatts.
1.21 gigawatts. What was I thinking? Thank you. I'm here all week. So, anyway, back to the coolness of
Anyway,
you.
my parents had me read my first grade reading books into the tape recorder.
Little Cat Feet.
And my brother, who was a year younger than me, came along to listen. So he and I were in my room around our Sears solid state tape recorder.
Everything in the house was from Sears. Guess where Lisa's father worked?
We'll talk about Sears more some other time.
And the fact that Santa, oh my God, Santa shops at Sears. Everything for Christmas came out of the catalog.
And I didn't realize that when I was like 7 or 8 or 9. I realized that this summer in Joe's presents, my dad has a collection of every Sears catalog, winter, spring, summer, fall, and the Christmas wish book for the entirety of Sears' last 20 years in the catalog business.
Right. With just a couple of missing issues.
Right, which was roughly 1970 to 1990.
Mm-hmm.
Then they stopped doing catalogs, or at least stopped doing catalogs the way they had
Right.
up to that point. So it's big, and he has some from the 60s too, so it's big fun to get out like the 60s and 70s catalogs and flip through them. Well, I was flipping through 1983 one day, and I started seeing everything that my Christmas memories were made of.
We were flipping through one catalog,
The
and all of a sudden you saw a doll.
dollies.
She had a name too. What was her name?
I think it was Sally.
It's like, oh my God, it's Sally. Santa shops at Sears.
I don't know how your kids were, but like it never occurred to me that dolls could have any name other than Sally.
That's true.
I don't even know. I mean, I imagine I picked out the name, but I don't even remember that. But like I look at her and I think Sally.
Oh no, my girls. Well, they have they're their Polly Pockets, and they all have names. They all had names.
Oh, okay.
Nick and Rick and Steven and
It's interesting because I didn't name my Barbies. I would name them based on what I was doing with them. Meaning, usually what do you do with Barbies? You dress them up, and usually you act out some sort of little play.
right.
And so if I had a friend over and she had a Barbie and I had a Barbie, we would each name them something. Some 80s name, like, okay, mine's going to be Ashley. Okay, mine's going to be Crystal. Okay, and we'll have this Ken. We never called Ken Ken.
He's like Don Johnson.
He was... No, he
Bruce
was like...
Willis.
He was like Eric, usually.
Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah.
Anyway,
You and your tape recorder and your brother.
my brother and I, sitting on the floor around the Sears solid state tape recorder, and me reading my first grade reading book into the tape recorder, and my brother occasionally commenting. It was good times, and I painstakingly described every picture in the book. The story comes full circle. I made this tape in 1985 and had listened to it maybe once since then, like when I was in high school. And in the days when Joe and I were only emailing each other,
We met on the internet.
that's another story.
Beware.
We were talking about, we were emailing about accents, and I said I used to have a Midwest accent when I was a kid. I said, in fact, there are tapes of me reading my first grade reading book, Little Cat Feet, and it's funny the way I used to pronounce words, and I don't pronounce them that way anymore.
Lisa was living in Seattle at the time and had a major Seattle accent. Saturday.
That doesn't. There's no such thing as a Seattle accent.
I was talking to my dad.
Because
Okay,
people in Chicago, no, because you were like, okay, what are you doing on Saturday?
Saturday. What you doing on Saturday? Well, on Saturday, I'm going over to the coffee shop. I'm going over to Tully's. I'm going to get a mocha. Drive through mocha.
No, it was not a mocha.
That's how they talk.
On
Actually,
Saturday.
that's how they talk. You see, it's softened, though, since you've moved here. That's how they
softened
talk.
since you and your children started harassing me
Hey,
about
Lisa.
it. Hey, Lisa, what are you doing on Saturday?
Dad, I'm very sad. I'm very mad. Like,
As you
oh.
know, my diction has a certain amount of Canadian influence.
Yes, that's right. That's true. Oh, and speaking of Canadian, We also have to say thank you to Karen and Ross of Z and Z for,
Yeah.
for their little shout outs to us. So thanks to you guys.
Thanks to everybody for the shout outs in the comments.
Exactly. And
Hope we didn't offend any actual Canadians.
And I'm especially pleased with the fact that Karen was not offended by my characterization of every Canadian is Bob and Doug McKenzie. Okay, so like here we are, eh?
Dude, and she saw Screeching Weasel. That's so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We'll download my favorite Screeching Weasel song sometime and play the hook from it.
Yes, honey.
It's just so cool.
We also want to thank Jay and Annie of Scenes from the Next Whatever.
They're great.
Because those two just cracked me up too. Here's a story for, okay, everyone else, don't listen for a few minutes because this goes out to Jay and Annie and to Karen and Ross. We were listening to your podcasts last night while we were driving to Target, and a couple points, and actually we had a driveway moment with, it was with Jay and Annie, I think, when they were talking about Love You Lots.
Love You Like a Sis.
Love You Like a Sis, right. That whole thing. And we were in the Target parking lot, and we were going in to pick up some stuff for Christmas because, Santa's on his way.
Santa shops at Target now.
He used to well, you see, Sears is now Kmart, so he had to go upscale a little bit. So
right,
it's
Target, yeah.
So, yeah, but we actually had a driveway moment because we were
Santa's
sitting.
a big spender.
We were sitting in the car. We were sitting in the car laughing because that was when Jay was talking about how Annie signed an email, "Love You Like a Sis," and he's like, "Great, I'm going out with this girl, and she loves me like a sister." Which I realize you guys not having an audience to feed back to you when you tell stuff, you kind of feel like your stories go. Well, my term for it is it's a trip to the 7-Eleven. It just kind of goes and it just stops, and then you're like, okay, well, there's nothing. You can't go anywhere with this. But that story was hilarious. What the whole thing about Love You Like a Sis. So we actually had a driveway moment. So thanks to you guys. You guys are awesome. We love your shows, and also thanks for the shout outs on our weblogs and on our Podcast Pickle page. And also on the topic of Podcast Pickle, on December 14th we were the podcast of the day.
Yay.
So the number of downloads that we had went way up, which was pretty cool.
And they're good downloads. They're not people trying to get free music now.
Although
so
we could say
nice.
My Humps again, so but we won't do that. So anyway, congratulations
anyway,
to us.
in a nutshell, we really like podcasting now.
Yeah, we do. It's very
we
cool.
did before, but it's nice to know that people are listening now.
Yeah, and
not just accidentally downloading it.
And a bunch of my coworkers are listening as well.
That's right.
Which
These are the ones
funny.
who characterize me as a hottie.
That's right. Well, you are.
Which I still think is...
Ooh,
Wait, do I sound hot?
Oh, you do.
Do I sound hotter if I talk like this?
Actually, that's pretty hot.
Except I can't do it without laughing.
We better put this on pause.
Hi, I'm Ping Pong Girl.
Oh.
Have you ever played beer pong?
What's beer pong?
It's where it's a party game, needless to say, where you set up a ping pong table and you play doubles, and each person puts a solo cup of beer on the table, and if you hit the ball into somebody's beer, they have to take a drink.
So it's kind of like quarters almost.
Yes, only
Do you have
with
to catch the ping pong ball in your teeth?
No.
I didn't. I was making a little joke there. Arf, arf.
I've never played quarters, though.
Oh, we'll have to do it.
Beer pong. I first played beer pong, Joe, with a group of people like my age and your age. And I'm like,
and how old were you?
I was 18.
Okay.
And I was like, who in their 20s or 30s or 40s would volley a ball into many different people's beer cups and then drink out of it? That's like...
Well, the theory is that the alcohol...
Pass this around and everybody stick your finger in it, and then I'll take a drink.
Well, the theory is that the alcohol would kill whatever it is that's floating in there. That's kind of what I would say.
Well, I mean, I'm not squeamish like that, but, I know. I feel like
I ought to be. We also saw the guys in Madison doing the 3-story beer bongs. We went up to Madison.
I know those tubes weren't sanitized.
That's right. We went up to Madison to see a football game, and it was homecoming, right? It was homecoming,
yeah.
And Lisa's brother's in the law school there, so they had their little tradition where they run down the field and throw their canes over the goalpost. the part of the tradition that doesn't get televised is the part where they start drinking at like 6 in the morning. As we're walking to the stadium, it was just like walking through any college town where there were guys having their parties in front of the frat houses and whatnot, and 3-foot beer bongs.
3-story.
3-story beer bongs.
There were people pouring beer at the balcony level for people drinking on the grass. My favorite scene was the little undergrad boys who came out of some house with no shirts on. It was probably 40 degrees, but it was in the fall, so it felt colder. I mean, it was the first cold day of the season. It was about 40 degrees, and these boys came out with no shirts on, with jerseys painted on their chests. And I think they were like freshmen.
Right. When they first came out of the...
I don't think they'd been drinking. They did not have any unnatural warmth.
Right. When they first came out of their house, they were like, yeah, man! Woo! Yeah! Woo! Go Badgers! Woo! And
they cross over to our side of the sidewalk and get in front of us. And 10 seconds later, I hear one of them go, "This is kind of cold."
We also have to give a shout out, while we're on the topic of shout outs, we have to give a shout out to Liz and Bob, because we can't let a moment go by. And actually, it was actually kind of sweet, because when the piece ran on Chicago Tonight, see, it's a circle of life, guys. We're coming all the way back around to where we started. When the piece,
Joe just made this
giant
magnificent sweeping motion with his arm.
With my right arm.
It's like interpretive dance. Swing. No, not swing. That means something else.
When the piece ran on, we've been clinking ice here too. We'll explain what our refreshments are in just a moment. When the piece ran on Chicago Tonight, they were talking about professional podcasters and all that stuff. And then they started talking about how you can find other topics, and there are individuals. And they talked about the kid who's actually in Chicago who does the Mugglecast, the Harry Potter podcast, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And then they started showing other podcasts as well. And then they showed an iTunes screen, and right at the top of the iTunes screen, they showed Fourth Time Around. And it was our Festivus episode from a couple weeks ago that was up there. Festivus Miracle, which is pretty cool. So they did not mention us by name, but it did show the name Fourth Time Around in iTunes. So that was kind of cool.
For about 1 second.
About 1 or 2 seconds.
But 1 second on TV. I mean, it's pretty cool to see your name on a computer screen on TV.
That's true. They didn't mention us by name, but that's okay. And then about 10 minutes later, the phone rang, and it was Bob of Liz and Bob who said, "Hey, man, you were robbed." It's like, no, that's okay. We have some other things that are in the works that might give us some well-deserved publicity, so we'll be talking about that in the near future as well.
Some publicity anyway.
Exactly. So that's the thing with Channel 11.
Hey, let's go on a cheap date. All right, here we are in Altai.
Altai. What a cool name.
Downtown Arlington Heights. Althai. Mm-hmm.
It's contemporary Thai cuisine.
And contemporary it is.
It's very cool. I will say that this is another one of those restaurants that if it was in the city of Chicago, if it was anywhere near the city limits of Chicago, there would be a line every single night getting in.
And this restaurant truly, not just... Some of the other restaurants we've discussed have fabulous food, but they don't have noteworthy atmosphere, except in as much as their diners make it notable. But all...
What, like luminaries show up? Hey, there's Lindsay Lohan. Hey, I'm going to go eat here.
No, I mean, like, you go to CNA and Liz and Bob are there.
Okay.
So, I mean, it has atmosphere for us.
Or you go to Subway. You go to the Subway on Campbell Street,
and
our buddy with the baseball cap is there.
And we know... Yeah, there are only 4 people who work there, and we know them all.
Exactly.
So, right. Alt Thai is design... As far as the interior design is a showpiece. It's beautiful. The walls are kind of like Panera colors. Purple and gold and a nice red-orange.
Earth tones? Would you call those earth tones?
I would say earth tones. Then they have these things... I don't know where they got these things, but they have these wall-mounted... water sculptures, typically like some sort of piece of natural looking slate. So anyway, they have these water sculptures and good decor on the walls. They have some enlarged prints of like the vein structure in leaves, and like you said, the IKEA, the abstract, just kind of shape paintings for a little splash of color. The tables are a pale wood with pale green placemats and tea lights in little green candle holders. And I describe it in such detail because I think there's a real harmony in the decor in there. Something about the dark, rich colors on the walls and the pale colors on the table that is really fantastic. But because I felt so in touch with the whole experience is so sensual. I mean, even aside from the food, with the candles and the water and the pale greens and the rich colors, it's like you feel and the different textures, the wood and the veins of
Even
the
the
leaves.
placemats have a specific texture to them. And it
Yes,
all goes,
I just think everything was so carefully. I could be wrong. Maybe they just bought stuff that was on sale, but I think everything was very carefully chosen to add a textural or color element to the experience that would make it very relaxing and beautiful and comforting, but not comforting like Cracker Barrel. Comforting in a
no big checkers set and,
Right.
and no golf tee peg game.
Right. It's like a spa in there.
Actually, you know what? It does kind of remind me of a spa.
The decor is like a spa, only sometimes I feel uncomfortable in spas because of their clientele, you know?
So when you're sitting there eating your dinner, do you just want to like take off your clothes and put on a towel? Because that would be
I
super.
could be talked into it.
That would be super.
For sure.
I'd be totally into that. Oh, never mind her. She's just making herself at home. It's very cool. Oh, and we forgot, one of the coolest parts about it is that they have an iMac on the bar.
They have an iMac. You can walk right up there. They have a bookmark to the theater around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
You can check out showtimes.
That's right. They have a G5 right
If you
there.
go in to pick up carryout, you can do a little browsing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's talk about
Let's
the food.
talk about the food, because the only thing better than the decor is the food.
And the food was amazing.
And the service, which was exceptional.
Yes, we went there the other night. You know, typically, and we reviewed another Thai restaurant in a previous podcast, and typically when we go, I'll order either pad see ew or something, you know, a house specialty or something like that, and Lisa will always order pad thai.
And I just anguish over pad thai or pad ki mao. Like,
Right.
it's very...
So
It's like when your parents go to a diner, you know, and should I get the chicken fried steak this time? I don't know.
So this time, we decided to put ourselves in the hands of the lady who was serving us, who I think was an owner or some. She was extremely knowledgeable about everything on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided to just throw caution to the wind and say, you know what, tell us, you know, just tell us what's good. And we put ourselves
partly because
completely in
she
her hand.
offered to do it.
Right. And
Because
right.
we were mulling over the menu, not really with any direction.
So we put ourselves in the hands of this person, a very trusting little couple here, and she recommended, we got 2 appetizers, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had, number 1, we had the most amazing shrimp appetizer, I can honestly say this, I have ever had in my life.
I can honestly say that too. I'm a big fan of shrimp. I've eaten a lot of it. And this is the best shrimp I've ever had.
They call this golden silk shrimp. It's deep fried marinated shrimp wrapped with crispy egg noodles, served with sweet and sour sauce and cucumber salad. So if you imagine a shrimp which has been marinated, and then it's been wrapped in like the crunchy egg noodles that you get like chow mein kind of noodles,
Mm-hmm.
only it's, you know, they're wrapped around there and then deep fried.
So the shrimp, there's no breading.
Right.
It sounds like there's breading and noodles, but the noodles are the breading. The noodles make kind of a cocoon around the shrimp, and then they deep fry the whole thing just enough to get the shrimp hot and the noodles crisp.
Right. I wouldn't call it a cocoon. I'd call it a nest. It's very much like
How is
how
a
I
nest
imagine
unlike
biting
a cocoon?
butterflies are in cocoons.
You should see the look I
and
just got.
birds are in nests.
But it wraps around.
It's fascinating, and it's incredibly delicious.
The egg noodles are all texture and no flavor. They're
It's just crunch.
The crunch plus the little bit of oil flavor, just that deep fried. If you've ever eaten just the crumbs off deep fried chicken or something, it's not really like that at all. It's much lighter than that, but it's just the texture, and it's the perfect complement to the flavor of the shrimp. It doesn't overwhelm the shrimp at all.
Exactly.
And then a little bit of sweet and sour sauce.
We also
I haven't been able to forget about the mussels.
That's true. Actually, Lisa's been talking about the mussels nonstop. So forgive me.
I've never had a food experience like that where I ate one and my jaw didn't drop because that would have been gross, but
Was this before or after you put the robe on? Took your clothes off and put the robe on.
They need to open like a hookah bar.
Some more of that shrimp.
Stop it.
It's crispy noodles, man. It's all about the crunch.
Oh my god, this is the best shrimp I've ever had. Steamed mussels with Thai basil leaves, garlic, and lemongrass and spicy and sour dressing. That, you know what? That says nothing about it. The mussels are steamed and then chilled, left on a half shell. Can I say that about a mussel?
You can say it's on a half shell.
The mussel's on there, and the mussel I thought had a very powerful seafood flavor. It has the Thai basil, which is about what you'd expect. It's basil. And garlic and lemon. I don't even know what all's in there.
Garlic
because
and lemon and ginger.
And ginger. I thought the mussel even was a little bit salty. Like it had been plucked right out of the ocean, but maybe that was my imagination running away with me. It had this cold, salty seafood flavor, and then the dressing that was on it was spicy. I mean, you would need something pretty serious to stand up to that mussel, and this did, and it was amazing.
The main course, the thing that I had, was called Massaman curry with roast peanuts, potatoes, and onions simmered in coconut milk, and I had chicken with that.
And it was right up Joe's alley.
It was perfect because she said, "Do you like something spicy?" Or I said, "I like something spicy, and I'd like something with noodles, and I like something with chicken." And she said, and this lady said, "I'll tell you what I ordered." She said, "I'm going to have this tonight when I'm done."
Well, and when you said you like peanuts, she asked if you like peanuts.
Oh yeah, she said you like peanuts. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm a big peanut fan."
I had spicy catfish, which was chunks of catfish in red curry, coconut milk, kaffir lime leaves, Thai basil leaves, green beans, bamboo shoots, hot peppers, and eggplants. I didn't think I liked curry. In fact, if you'd asked me 3 days ago, do you like curry, I would have said no, because I had never had a curry that I liked before. The catfish was great. It was big chunks of catfish that they, says here stir-fried. I think maybe it was actually deep-fried, but it wasn't battered. It was just plunged into the oil for a second just to get the fish flaky and get a little crispiness on the outside, and then mixed in with all this other stuff. And the curry was spicy and complex, and if there was coconut milk in there, there was just a touch. Either the server or the cook, I think, pegged us exactly right on the spicy scale. It was spicy enough to be, I would say, challenging, but not so spicy as to be unpleasant. Her recommendation for next time, I just want to recap this, is that we order a curry and then a mild noodle dish like a pad thai. The problem we had with these two dishes, with the two spicy dishes, is that after 3 bites of mine, I couldn't taste Joe's, and same vice versa.
So Alt Thai, where is Alt Thai, honey?
Alt Thai is in the Arlington Town Square, 40 South Arlington Heights Road. So if you want to go to Alt Thai, go in there, park underground, and then walk up, and it's right across from Panera. You can't miss it. There's a big sign. And it's not any more expensive. I'm not going to name names, but it's no more expensive than any other Thai restaurant in Arlington Heights.
And for those of you who are listening who are not in the area, their website is actually pretty cool. You'll get hungry just looking at the website. It's altthai.com. So that's the cheap date. now, my love. So on that happy little note,
So.
I had an interesting conversation today with Al, one of the guys I work with, who downloads a lot of podcasts, and I told him how we try to keep this show to 30 minutes or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And he raised a really interesting point, which I said, because asking for an hour of someone's time to listen to a podcast, to listen to this sort of thing, like the kind of ramblings we do here. Sorry, bumped my microphone. I think it's an awful lot to ask your audience. And he raised the point. He said, well, you know what? 30 minutes is perfect because for me, it's a train ride.
That's right.
So, see, 30 minutes is a nice chunk. So that's what we're going to do. So the next time we talk to you folks, I will have 20/20 vision.
Or I'll be blind.
Or I'll... thanks, honey.
And we'll be pursuing a lawsuit. No, I'm sorry. Oh, stop.
Thank you so much for that.
You'll be blind, but we'll be so rich.
Awesome. I can cancel about half my magazine subscriptions then, because it ain't going to do me any good. There's no sense in having any more of that their internets anymore either.
I'll read to you.
Well, okay, you're kind of missing the point, but that's okay.
Oh, you didn't mean reading material.
I'll read it for the articles. Okay, so thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you for all of your comments. Thank you all for just being you, because it's a wonderful thing, this podcast community.
It is. We'll have to get together and have a big podcast
We
party
should.
sometime.
By all means, send us your comments. You can leave a comment on our weblog, or you can leave us votes at Podcast Alley, or you can leave us ratings at Podcast Pickle, or we love hearing from everybody, which is very, very cool. And you can always email us at fourthtime@gmail.com as well.
All right.
Do you want to introduce the song for the week?
Oh, yeah. We're going to sign off with this. It's Whiskey in the Jar by Murder the Stout. Murder the Stout emailed us and asked if we wouldn't mind putting something on our podcast, which, of course, we were delighted to do. They're on the PodSafe Music Net. You can check that out at music.podshow.com. Their name again is Murder the Stout, an Irish rock band from Houston, Texas. And you can learn more about them at murderthestout.com. That's stout, like stout beer. And we're going to sign off tonight with Whiskey in the Jar. How appropriate.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
See you next week. Good night.
Bye-bye.
As I was walking over the far-flung Kerry Mountains, I met with Captain Farrell and his money he was counting. I first produced me pistol and then whipped out me rapier. I said, stand and deliver, or the devil he will take you with your ring. Da-ma-do-da-ma-da. Whack for the daddy-o, whack for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. I counted out his money, it was a pretty penny. I put it in me pocket and I took it home to Jenny. She swore that she loved me and never would she leave me. The devil take that woman, for you know she can't be easy with your ring. Da-ma-do-da-ma-da. Whack for the daddy-o, whack for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. I went into her chamber, all for to take a slumber. I dreamt of golden jewels, and for sure it was no wonder. For Jenny stole me pistols and filled them up with water, then sent for Captain Farrell to be ready for the slaughter. With your ring, da-ma-do-da-ma-da. Whack for the daddy-o, whack for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. 'Twas early in the morning as I awoke to travel. The redcoats stood around me, oh, and with them Captain Farrell. I first produced me pistol, but all I shot was water. The devil take that woman, cause for sure she is his daughter. With your ring, da-ma-do-da-ma-da. Whack fall the daddy-o, whack fall the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. Brother, he's a corporal in the army. If I could find a station down in Cork or in Killarney, the two of us we'd go walking around the streets Kilkenny, where he knows them women better than I know that woman Jenny. Would you ring them a do them a da? Whack fall the daddy-o, whack fall the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. Oh, some men like the drinking and some men like the fighting. Oh, some men find a pleasant woman's company quite inviting. Oh, me, I just like journeying, I'll down with Nelly, where I know she'll treat me better than that awful woman Jenny. With your ring, them a do them a da. Whack fall the daddy-o, whack fall the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. With your ring,